Hello and welcome back to the tutorial data structures and algorithms. So today we'll be looking into what we call the linear or sequential search algorithm. So some popularly know it as linear search and others know it as sequential search, but it basically means the same thing. So this is basically where we are searching through um, a list and looking for a particular element. So it is a method for finding an element within a particular list. What it does is that it will sequentially check each and every element of the list until a match is found. Otherwise, it will search for the whole list and then until an element is found. And if it's not found, it will gracefully tell us that the element is not within the list. You might have already used this algorithm before in your daily activities, or perhaps maybe when you are busy with the tutorials or solving some of the problems, maybe on HackerRank, LeetCode, wherever, but not being aware that it's actually called a linear or sequential search algorithm. So how it happens is that um, if you are given a particular array or a list, okay, then we have index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's just give space for 5. 5. So basically, if you're given a list of length 6, maybe with values 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and then 60. Right. If we were required to search, for example, for the value 40, so if your target in this case is 40, so basically you are required to check if whether the value 40 is contained within this particular uh, list. So what the linear search algorithm or sequential search algorithm does is it will go through each index. This is index I. So it will go through each index, index 0, and then check the contents of index 0. In this case, it will be 10, and then 10 is not equal to 40. Then it will move on to the next index, which is 1. And then it will say 1, the contents of index 1 is 20. Is 20 equals to 40? No. Then it will move on to index number 2, the contents of which is 30. Is 30 equal to 40? No. And then it will move on to index number 3. The contents of it is 40. Is 40 equal to 40? Yes. And then once it reaches that, then it needs to say, okay, fine, we found our value, which is going to be at index number 3. Right. So it can either be a true or a false, or it can just give you the actual index where the value exists. That is what the linear or sequential search algorithm basically does. All right. And then say, for example, you were required to look for the value 70 in the array. So if you have 10 and here is 20, 30, 40, 50, and then 66. Let's just assume that these other ones here do not exist. So what we'll do is we need to, let's assume these ones do not exist. So, right, so it's going to be from index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Okay, so if we were required to look for the value 70 in here, we'll do the same thing. It'll go from index I is equals to 0, and then it check what is the contents of index 0. 10 is 10 equals to 70. It will repeat the same process until it gets to number 5, which is the very last index. And then as soon as it gets here, it means that it has managed to search through the whole list. And then once it's done, it will give us a false, or it will say that the value is not found. All right, value not found because the value does not exist in the list. Okay, so now this works if you are not given a large number or a large amount of data. If you're given 1,000,000, and then it means that it will have to iterate through the list 1,000,000 times, which is very time consuming and uses a lot of resources. And as such, then there is a downside to it, because now you have to loop through the whole data. It will work best for when you are given not so big or not so much of data. So let's just quickly look into it using Java or just coding. We can just say linear search algo. All right. Okay, so we'll have our method. We'll call it linear search. So we're going to return the index where exactly the value is found. And then we obviously will have the actual array input there, and then we'll have our target. Some call it pivot. Okay, and then what we need to do is we need to loop through the array, right, from index 0 up until the length of the array. Sorry, I less than length of the array I plus plus. Okay, and then we need to say, okay, fine, if that particular the contents of that index is equals to our target value, then we need to stop searching and return the actual index. Okay, so otherwise, if we manage to loop through the whole list and we find that it's not there, we can, for example, return -1. That is pretty much it. I'm sure you must have used this thing 1,000 times, but yeah, its formal name is just called a linear search. Okay, cool. Then now what we need to do is let's just do a test. We need to say, okay, fine, if we're given input, I'll just call it ints, and then from there we have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and then 60. And then say, for example, our target is 30, or let's just say 40. And then what we need to do is we need to okay, we need to call this method, and then I'll just say found target. Let me just do this target, and then plus space here at index, and then we'll give it a value here. So we'll just call this guy over here who's gonna get ints as input and also the target. All right, cool. So the reason it's complaining is because I'm calling it within a static context, and then it needs the method needs to be static according to Java. Okay, let's just do a little test here. So it should be 0, 1, 2, 3. It should be 40. The found target 40 at let me just say element rather. Makes sense to say element. Okay, found element element 40 at index 3. Okay, so but we need to cater for the case where it's not found. So let me just first do this. If we can have int, and then we call this result, and we call this method as is here, and we say, okay, if result is equals to -1, meaning that we have not found the value. Sorry, we have not found the value. Then we can just say element not found. Okay, otherwise, then we need to continue. Let's just move this upwards. Okay, and then right again we need to turn this and just say a result. Okay, and then say for example we're looking for 70, which should not be in the list. And then let's see what happens. Oh, oops, I thought I did say result here. Okay, let's run it again. Okay, and then it says element not found. So that's in a nutshell what linear search algo is about.